Loud and Color Studio presents The Single Files with B.Kadijat. Hey, welcome to The Single Files. It's your girl, B.Kadijat, your new digital girlfriend. If this is your first time visiting the podcast, welcome, because this is actually the official first podcast conversation for The Single Files. So if you're not familiar, or if you didn't take time to listen to the prelude, as I would like to call it, we will want to dig a little deeper into understanding the season of single. I decided to create this podcast just to kind of mimic the conversation from last time, that I wanted to create this safe space for singles. I am in my 30s, and I have been living alone for about 2.5, going on 3 years. And I have learned so much about myself, and I'm still learning. And I just think that's just like the school of life. You're just constantly learning and constantly reevaluating and assessing and pivoting, and just kind of just going through all of these roller coasters of just life, and just understanding who you are and who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. And the biggest thing for me is being single. And I say a lot, so excuse me. I'm trying to work on my verbiage. So please bear with me. So, navigating the season of single has been quite a journey. As I may have mentioned before, I have been single most of my 20s and practically all of my 30s. I have been single. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been in situationships, and we'll dig into that foolishness later. But I've learned so much about who I am through these various experiences. So I wanted to create this space where I am connecting with other singles, and just kind of just sharing my story. But later on, I will be having other people on, so don't worry about that. We're gonna broaden up this conversation, but I definitely wanted to, just create this space where we can talk about love, sex, dating, relationships, not only with ourselves but with others, and how our trials and our experiences definitely impact on how we move through our day to day. So this episode is a little bit special to me, and just kind of wanted to just kind of kick things off. Of course, I want to talk about something that I just happen to fall in love with and just happen to be, which is, love. And, I think that's kind of a hot topic, but maybe it's a hot topic for me, But the topic of love is definitely something that I think is a very broad verb, but it also has so much meaning and so much depth to it. So I wanted to kind of take some time to explore that. So as you may see, the title is "What Is It Like to Be in Love?" I am a music head, and the one thing about me is that in order to feed my love language, my first love language is definitely physical touch. Second is words of affirmation. But if you really want to get to me, I feel like this is almost like an act of service. But if you really want to feed into me and really like grab my heartstrings, take me to a concert. Share music with me, because music is just obviously, well, you don't know, but it definitely feeds into me. I'm a music head. I've been a music head practically my entire life. Growing up in a Nigerian household, that is the first thing that I woke up to, and probably the last thing I went to bed is hearing music. But as I got older, obviously my taste in music had evolved. So I am a 80s baby. So growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s was my time of when I just kind of just fell in love with music. And I am an R&B person, so give me a good R&B record and you have my heart. So one of my favorite groups, one of them, let me make that clear, was Jagged. And I remember being in college, and it wasn't even in college. I think it was high school. It was in the early 2000s, and What's It Like came out, and I had that song on repeat. I had that song on repeat because I just, first of all, I just love Jagged Edge. They are the R&B thugs that I had always dreamed about being with. Yes, I said it. Um, but I just love that particular record because I am such a lover girl at heart. At that time, being 15, 16 years old, I just always just dreamt about just being in love with somebody and someone being in love with me. Um, and it just kind of stayed that way. So, I just always had like this beautiful fantasy that I was going to eventually fall in love with my soulmate, and when I became of age to like really just start dating, because I really wasn't allowed to date in high school. Again, I'm Nigerian. Grew up in a very strict Nigerian household, so they weren't going for me dating nobody's dusty son. So I just always just dreamt about falling in love with my soulmate whenever I met him, and we were just gonna just ride off to the sunset, whatever that looks like in your mind. But for me, it was just really locking in with someone. But thinking about falling in love, um, I didn't really understand that it's a navigation portion to to actually falling in love, because you got to meet the person first, and this person is just not gonna necessarily just knock on your doorstep and say, hey, I'm the one that God sent for sent to be with you. You actually have to actually navigate some pools and some for me, it's been trenches. I thought it was just going to be swimming through pools, but it really has just been going through trenches. So I had to do some like really, really like some deep thinking in my approach in just dating and what that looks like to be in love. So I just want to hop in this topic of what is it like to be in love. All right, so these past couple of years have been really, really interesting. I always say that because it's true. It's been really interesting for me, and just having to just kind of learn, myself and understand like what my needs are, in actually being a partner. And truthfully speaking, I don't think I've ever gotten the groundwork to really be a girlfriend. Yeah, surprisingly. Um, I know it sounds crazy for me to say that, but it's true. I feel like, although it's not like a handbook or anything that kind of comes with being, a girlfriend or a significant other to someone, I do feel like there's some key learnings that you need to have in order to properly navigate and really just show up in being someone's significant other. But I think the biggest thing is just learning how to love myself. Certain expectations of how to feed into my love language. And those are some things that I've been depriving myself of. Let me explain. I think my biggest issue with being single is that I had this like certain level of expectation that whoever this person that I was supposed to be with is going to do the things that society says that they should do. Obviously, like, buying me flowers, sweeping me off my feet, doing these romantic gestures to make me want to create this emotional and romantic tie with them. But I had to learn, going through therapy and just kind of doing some self-discovery, I'm not doing those things for me. I am not taking the time out to go buy myself flowers, go spend time with myself, take myself out on dates, just do the things I actually enjoy, that I actually look forward to doing with a mate. And I think I have been doing myself a lot of misjustice by doing that, if that's even a word. Bear with me. Um, and I think that through that, I deprived myself of the love that I am out here seeking when I should be giving that to myself. So, some of the questions I had to start posing myself, like, do I actually feed into my own language? Do I even know and understand my own needs? And I can, and before, I did not know what that looked like. I didn't know how to even court myself. I didn't even know what courting even looked like, because I was in different settings that where those things were non-existent. So having to do a lot of learning and unlearning had been a thing for me as I am, living alone and really paying attention to some of the nuances that I've seen in relationships, not only with others but with individuals. Um, so I decided this was back in the pandemic days where we were sheltering in place, but there were still some places that were available, just to kind of go out to, which it was like a time limit. So I decided in December of 2020, yes, December of 2020, I took myself on my first solo date. I went to a breakfast diner when I was living out in the burbs with my mother. I decided to get up one morning and just take myself out to breakfast because I've always envisioned, if y'all ever knew the song Miguel, Let's Just Be, he basically just talked about just spending the weekend with his significant other doing absolutely nothing, but doing everything, but that was nothing. And I just always envisioned, like to me waking up on a Saturday morning and go grabbing coffee with my man and we go have breakfast at this cute little spot. And clearly I didn't have no man. So I just decided that, in order for me to kind of set the bar, let me just set it for myself. And so I went to breakfast and I just chilled and, I journaled. I ate breakfast. And I really just enjoyed my time with myself. And I'm just like, wow, this small step was a big leap for me. And I think a lot of times that we get so hesitant on just doing stuff on our own. We're just going to be painted out to look weird. And I was okay with being weird. If I can go shopping by myself and stop at the store, I can go sit down at a restaurant and eat alone and just be by myself with my thoughts. So that was something that I really enjoyed. But I would say that I am very guilty of allowing life to get in the way of me spending time with myself. Working as a publicist, working in communications, people who works in this world, you understand that your time is not always your time. And sometimes we don't create those boundaries for ourselves. Not even just necessarily in this profession, but in most professions that I know that people are in, we just don't create those times because we are constantly on the hustle. And when we are constantly hustling, we are carving into the time that we're supposed to be dedicating to ourselves, just to pretty much just decompress. And for me, it's just being intentional about me. So my my second day didn't even come until like a couple years later when I moved out. So I believe it was summer of 2022 when I moved into my apartment, or 2023, one of those years. I took myself to a Broadway musical because I really, really wanted to go see, I am having a brain fart. I want to go see a stage play. Devil Wears Prada. There you go. I went to go see Devil Wears Prada. And it was amazing. And then I took myself to an early dinner at this Italian restaurant in my neighborhood. And I just sat outside and I ate the best pasta and had the best wine ever. And I vlogged about it, but really just being able to just kind of enjoy myself was just something that was the most expensive but beautiful day. So I understand when guys don't want to spend a whole bunch of money but don't get comfortable, you feel me? But I just absolutely just love that experience, and I just think that that is just a common practice that I needed to be instilling. Maybe not necessarily just spending $200 to $300 on a date, but just being able to just dedicate that time to me, which was just really, really important. It was really, really special because I did that for me. And so I know that when someone's son comes around, they already know that you're gonna have to come with it in order to be, to impress me. You feel me? So I think what I've learned through that is that, with the spacing, let me go back to that. So from July of 2020 to like July of 2022, I did not go on a date with myself. And what I've noticed is that it's kind of the same thing when it comes to partners. it's probably like a year or two before I go on a date, and that's not healthy. And I know that I've had conversations with some of my girls who are still single, like, oh my God, I haven't been on a date this year, or it's been 6 months, or it's been, whatever extended amount of time. And I think we stay in that bubble because we are waiting to experience life with someone when we don't necessarily have to. And I'm not saying that everyone does that. Let me make that very clear. But I do believe that we sometimes do fall victim to wanting to enjoy going to a nice restaurant, going to go see a movie, going on that solo trip because we want to have a quote unquote vacation, because we're waiting on that person to join us on that experience when we don't have to. So, with being single, although it has its challenges, I do believe that we don't challenge ourselves enough to really spend time with ourselves, because there's a lot of things that we have to unpack in order to really show up as a partner. And these are things that I have just had to learn just with age and just, observation. Spending a lot of time alone, I believe, has allowed me to understand that I am okay with someone not being all up under me. I thought that was something that I wanted, but that's something that I don't want. I actually desire companionship, but I want to also know that if I can't have that companionship, I am still going to enjoy life while I am still in this season, because I have already put out there that it's temporary. But just enjoying this season alone and being able to enjoy some of these, beautiful aspects of being alone it's not punishment, but it's more so, it can be really seen as pleasure and just as a learning experience for a single person. So some people may ask me, what is it like to be in love? And truthfully, I can't answer that question. Because I've gotten to a space in my life that I've never been in love. At at my big age of being in my late 30s, I can say, unfortunately, I have not been able to experience being in love. And what I mean by that is, I have fallen in love with with individuals that I thought that were it. I have thought that I was like, okay, I'm so ready to give my heart to this person. And unfortunately, they weren't on the same wavelength as me. So I've fallen, and I know what those feelings feel like. And it's just like, it's just an emotional rush. But being in love, I've never been that until I started to really start to fall in love with myself. And through that, I know this sounds cliche, but feeding into my own love language has been a thing. So physical touch can really just be as simple as putting lotion on your body. Scrubbing yourself down with the best body scrub in the shower. Romanticizing those evenings alone. So I created last year a reel of me making dinner for myself, and rolling my hair up and pouring myself a glass of wine and watching TV. Obviously, that's something that you would just love to do with a significant other after a long day, but I just did it for myself. Lighting candles, for myself when taking a shower is something that obviously I would love for a significant other to do, but I can do it for me. I love lighting candles, loving having the best scent of candles, and taking a nice long shower, washing your hair. That all feeds into my love language. Writing words of affirmation, journaling, really getting out my emotional feelings on paper, but then also just reaffirming that this is just a season. Being upset over that dusty ass nigga who just did not want to love you, get that out on paper, saying, I know, Lord, like, as much as I really wanted it to be him, it was not him, but I have to continue to trust you. And this process is words of affirmation. And now, don't get me wrong, it's hard, but I am slowly learning that every day of me being single is allowing me time to really shed those layers of who I used to be and really getting down to that core of who I need to be. Um, Another thing with, being in this season and continuing to pour into my love language is, the act of service. I'm not really big on gifts. Um, I like getting people gifts when I can afford it, because, times is hard. But when I'm able to just spend a little extra on getting my hair, getting my hair done, getting my feet done, getting my nails done, spend a little bit of extra cash on getting some designs, because girls, y'all know me, paying $150 for your hair, for your nails and feet is is violent. So, but being able to do that, because the feeling that you have of grooming and just really just taking care of yourself, you show up better in the world. And that has just really just that has been my objective, is to really just show up better. So when you're loving on yourself, people can see that, and loving yourself more and taking care of yourself and spending time with you, you come off fearless. And sometimes, the person that you want to attract, they want to see that you're fearless. But then also there's going to be spaces that obviously you want someone to kind of fill in. Because I'm going to tell you all right now, Miss Independent, that woman, I let go of her. I'm independent because I have to be, not necessarily that I want to be. And then it's okay. It is okay to want and need a significant other. And I pray for that. But as of right now, I'm going to do that for me, because I'm setting a standard. And every day and every month and every year, I have to increase that standard, because I can't settle. And so I just really want, for my singles, guy or girl, to really understand that it is okay to just love on you for right now. And what is it like to be in love? If you've been there, take it as a gift. I think a lot of times people really forget that being in love, and although it may come to a date of expiration, but being in love and really knowing what that felt like is a gift. And if it didn't work out, it was an experience that was given to you for a reason. Learn from it, take what you can from it, and wait your turn for the next opportunity. Because people like me who have yet to fully experience it, because I haven't been in a real relationship, that's something that I look forward to. But I think for me and in my growth, I really just needed to focus on having a real relationship with myself. So what is it like to be in love? What is it like to be in love with me? It's beautiful. What is it like to be in love with me? It's a timeless experience that I have to continue to give myself every day. And I'm encouraging all other singles to give themselves that same grace. Yeah. So to close out this conversation, I want to leave it with Dear Future Husband. Now, some of y'all who are friends of mine know that I started Dear Future Husband many, many moons ago, and I never kept to it. Only because, again, life got in the way of my inspiration in writing. And two, it was a period where I just kind of lost my faith in love. And I still battle with it to this day, of just really believing that I am going to meet my forever person. But I did want to share, this Dear Future Husband letter that I wrote. Oh, gosh, it was like years ago, probably close to 10 years ago. But I wanted to close out with this. So, dear future husband, come with me. Let's escape the pressures of the world and run to ecstasy. Let's go to a place where our souls can be free. Come dream with me. Lay with me as we paint the sky with our love, using our imagination to sculpt our future. Come with me. Trust me with your heart that I can lead us to happiness, joy, and love. Pray with me. When we endure weakness within ourselves, Let's seek our strength from him. Be with me. Let our souls become one. Until you arrive, my love, my heart will wait for you. Signed, B.Kadijat. So that concludes our first single file entry today. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this conversation. Drop some comments for me. Let me know what your thoughts about this episode. What is your experience of being in love? What does it look like for you? If you're not in love, if you've never been in love, share it. Share your story. I want to know. Let's kind of create some conversations around it. And yeah, I hope you all really, really enjoyed this conversation. And until next time, take care. I'll see you in the next one.